On a June night in 1992, in the small town of Springfield, Missouri, 3 people vanished into thin air. No signs of a struggle. No forced entry. No neighbor who heard a scream. 33 years have passed. The FBI got involved. Thousands of tips poured in. And to this day, no one knows what really happened that night. This is the Springfield 3, one of the most chilling and strangely under the radar missing persons cases in American history. Let's first get to know who they were. Cheryl Levitt, age 47. A cosmetologist who worked at a salon called New Attitudes. She'd recently remodeled her house. She had plans, a doctor's appointment the following Monday, and she was set to be back at work later that week. Susie Streeter, Cheryl's daughter, 19 years old. She just graduated from Kickapoo High School days earlier. Stacy McCall, Susie's close friend, 18 years old. Also a fresh graduate. All 3 were standing at one of the brightest moments of their lives. School was over, the future wide open. None of them could have known that this week would become the last chapter of their story that anyone would ever witness. The evening of June 6, 1992. Susie and Stacy had just graduated and were bouncing between parties. As the night wore on, they decided to crash at a friend's place. But when they got there, the house was already packed, no room left. So at the last minute, they changed plans. They'd head to Susie's mom's house instead. They arrived at the home on Delmar Street sometime between 2 o'clock and 2:30 a.m. That was the last time either of them was ever seen alive. Cheryl Levitt had been home that evening and spoke on the phone with a friend around 11:15 p.m. After that, nothing. No further trace of her. Police believe that sometime between 2:15 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. that morning, all 3 women vanished from the house. How, by whose hand, and to where? None of it is clear. The next morning, Susie and Stacy's friends showed up to pick them up. The plan was a trip to a water park. Instead they found the door open. Nobody home. What police found inside was, frankly, unsettling. No sign of forced entry, just the shattered porch light globe. What police found inside was, frankly, unsettling. No sign of forced entry, just the shattered porch light globe. All 3 of their cars still parked outside. Purses, cash, keys, medication, cigarettes, all left inside, undisturbed. Cheryl's bed looked slept in, and a window blind was bent at an odd angle. The family dog, Cinnamon, was still inside the house, visibly agitated, likely the only witness who could never talk. No blood, no damage, no neighbor who heard anything. That's the most disturbing part of this case. 3 people disappeared completely, with no visible evidence that any violence ever happened. Here's another gut punch. Investigators later revealed that before police even arrived, somewhere between 10 and 20 people, worried neighbors and family, had already walked through the house. Without realizing it, they emptied ashtrays and washed coffee cups, unintentionally wiping out evidence that could never be recovered. Recognizing the severity of the case, the FBI joined the investigation on June 9th. Stacy's mother, Janice McCall, made missing person flyers by hand and plastered them across town. It was the media that eventually dubbed them the Springfield 3. But the most chilling moment of the entire case came at year's end, December 31st, 1992. An unidentified man called the hotline for the popular crime show America's Most Wanted. He claimed he had information about the missing women. But right as the operator tried to patch the call through to Springfield police, the line disconnected. Police later said publicly that the caller seemed to have prime knowledge of the case, details only someone directly connected to the disappearance could have known. They pleaded with him, publicly, to come forward. He never called back. To this day, nobody knows who he was. The most talked about name in this case is Robert Craig Cox, a former Army Ranger, previously convicted in 1978 of killing a 19-year-old woman and sentenced to death, though that conviction was later overturned. In 1992, Cox was living in Springfield and, in a strange coincidence, worked at the same car dealership as Stacy McCall's father. After the disappearance, he initially claimed he'd been at church with his girlfriend that night, and she backed up his story at first. Later, she admitted Cox had asked her to lie for him. The most jaw-dropping twist came in 1997. While imprisoned in Texas, Cox told journalists that he knew the 3 women were dead and buried somewhere, but he never admitted involvement and he never offered proof. A police official later said Cox's shifting, contradictory statements over the years are exactly what keeps him a person of interest, but there's never been enough to charge him and never enough to clear him either. The second big name is Dustin Rekla, Susie Streeter's ex-boyfriend. A few months before the disappearance, Rekla had broken into a mausoleum and stolen gold fillings from a skull. Susie had given police a statement about that break-in, and there were rumors she might be called as a witness against him in court, fueling a revenge theory. But Rekla passed a polygraph test and was never charged in connection with the case. Investigators have chased a long list of other theories over the years. Some believe the women's bodies are buried somewhere in the Mark Twain National Forest. In 1993, acting on a tip from a motorcycle gang member, police searched a hog farm in Webster County. The property's owner was a convicted murderer. Nothing was found. In 2007, ground-penetrating radar scans of a parking garage at Cox Hospital picked up 3 anomalies shaped like they could be grave sites. A later excavation turned up nothing. Some point to a suspected serial killer named Larry Dwayne Hall, who traveled the Midwest attending Civil War reenactments and is believed to have abducted, raped, and killed multiple young women. In an eerie coincidence, a Civil War battlefield site sits just 5 minutes from the Levitt house. In 1997, Cheryl Levitt and Susie Streeter were legally declared dead, but their official police file still lists the case as missing, not murdered. No bodies have ever been found. No one has ever been charged. Police still say publicly that no one has ever been cleared. Stacy's mother, Janice McCall, still attends memorial events every year and keeps working with media to make sure the case isn't forgotten. In one interview, she said she never imagined that 25 years later, she'd still be saying her daughter is missing. A house with no sign of violence. A phone call that got cut off before it finished. A dog that may have seen everything and can never say a word. 33 years later, the question hangs just as heavy. What really happened inside that house on Delmar Street that night? What's your theory? Drop it in the comments.